Hey guys, I'm Lincoln Tapp and you're watching Young Wild. We first introduced you to my friend Jennifer Griego last year. What began as a goal that Jennifer set to prove something to herself turned into a journey that inspires all of us. Jennifer's story reminds us that our personal challenges don't define who we are. What defines who we are is how we face those challenges. We're so excited to bring you along on a journey that we're calling Undefined.
When Jennifer was born, as soon as they handed her to me, I was worried that something wasn't quite right. Her belly seemed to be a little bit bigger and a little firmer than I would have expected, and she threw up, and I thought, no, it's no big deal. My husband was so happy that we had a girl. We didn't know we were having a girl, and I didn't want to make him worry at all, so I just kept it all inside. Eventually, I asked the nurse practitioner to just run a few tests, and sure enough, it was abnormal. So Jennifer had to go be flown to the children's hospital, and we had lots of trouble, and ultimately she had surgery after a couple days, and finally the neonatologist mentioned it, and I just put my head down and cried. It was very, very difficult, caring for a baby that I know would ultimately die of the disease that she was born with, and I couldn't get that out of my head. You know, I was very depressed and very, very sad and grieved for probably the first 2 years of her life.
She has bad cystic fibrosis, there's no doubt about it. We know a lot of people her age that are in a better situation lung function-wise. So it's sad that she is having to fight as hard as she does.
I know that there are a lot of people, some people younger than me, some people older than me, that have had double lung transplants because of this. I try not to get scared by it because there's nothing I can do. But, I mean, I have God, I have my parents, I have my family, I have friends that are there for me.
The biggest wake-up call I had when CF came into our life is that I can't plan her future when she's born. I can't plan her getting married when she's born. I have to enjoy today.
No parent wants to think that their kid is embracing their own mortality and thinking they may not live very long. But at the same time, it gives us a different perspective on how we approach life with our kids. God's in control of it. You know, we're not going to mope around about things we can't control. We're going to enjoy every minute we have and get the most out of it.
When I was first starting out my Super Slam journey, we decided to go after Columbian black-tailed deer in California. There were a bunch of other guys in camp. One of those guys was Bob Griego, and immediately Bob and I hit it off. Every day we'd be up on the 3D course shooting our bows. Pretty soon I saw this picture of his daughter who had harvested this bison and this mule deer, and she was already a great hunter at her young age. Eventually, I met Jen at the Wild Sheep Foundation convention, and it just became kind of a cool friendship based off of being two youth hunters that really had a passion for the outdoors. So we immediately connected on that note, and fast forward to 2017, Wild Sheep Show National Convention.
We were at the Wild Sheep meeting in January, and one of the Wounded Warriors, Kirsty, was on stage, and they were auctioning off a bison skull that Kirsty had harvested.
Kirsty Ennis was giving a speech about her life and her journey. She was basically told she wasn't going to live, but fought through her infection and persevered.
There were a lot of people crying. It was a very emotional thing. And Jennifer started crying, which was very unusual for her. She rarely gets emotional. And so I said to Jennifer, honey, why are you crying? And she goes, no, I've just been reading that the average life expectancy with cystic fibrosis is 35 years, and my lung function is only 50%, and I'm not gonna live long enough to do some of the things that I wanna do in my life. So Carol and I were there and sitting with her, and we hugged her, and it's like, that's a very difficult thing to hear as a parent. She had just come off of 9 months of IV medications. She was growing a bacteria that wasn't responding to antibiotics. She was sick, she was nauseated, and her weight was the lowest it had been in a long time. That night I talked to Jennifer about it, and I said, if you want to really set a goal, I don't think anybody with cystic fibrosis has ever, achieved a grand slam of sheep or a fanaz, and that'd be something you could really push yourself for.
I was like, well, I can't go sheep hunting, like that's impossible. He's like, you can do whatever you put your mind to. Just tell me what you want to do and I'll help you do it.
It was an emotional discussion for my wife and Jennifer and myself, and she just kind of got this little grin.
She told me that she had been going through something, but I had no idea the severity of it, and it really got me emotional that night. And then when I found out that she wanted to chase sheep, this wave of emotion flooded over me, And immediately my dad and I looked at each other and we said we have to help in some way. I just knew that it would be an amazing journey and so inspiring to many, many people.
So that's the night we decided I was gonna try for the Grand Slam of sheep.
I was just smiling, and Carol said, what's so funny? I said, that little girl has no idea what she just got herself into. We got back from Reno and we hiked up the mountain just to see how she did. And the first hike, she was really struggling. And I was like, man, this is gonna be really tough for her. For a 15-year-old, 100-pound girl with 50% lung function who's never camped a day in her life, she has to take 40 pills a day, do 3 treatments a day. I realized this could be a real challenge.
Once you tell someone your goals and once you get it out there, there's pressure to do it. So when I started training for it, it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this. Like, it's actually happening.
We're about to go kind of see what Jen has been doing to train and prepare for all of these sheep hunts. We're gonna go hike right here outside of their cabin here in Greer, Arizona. A sheep hunt can be a day 1 hunt or it can be a day 14 hunt. And so you have to be prepared to go the full duration of the hunt.
So we did it a couple times and we started doing longer hikes and going up a little steeper mountains. And after a couple of weeks, we were doing 5.5 to 6 miles.
I was seeing my lung function go up and seeing myself get in shape. So I was getting more confident by the day, and just by my visits to the doctors, seeing like I'm getting better, so maybe I have a chance of doing this. But I had no clue how everything was gonna pan out.
Jen's conditioning up to this hunt was some of the hardest stuff that she's ever done, and you never know until you get on the mountain how motivated they're gonna be and how physically able they're gonna be too. But her whole life has had to win the mental battle of CF and not let it get her down. The mental battle of a sheep hunt, I don't think is nearly as hard as what she's had to go through fighting CF all her life. And so I was confident that she was in the shape that she needed to be.
I knew she was getting better because she would never stop talking. She wasn't out of breath, she wasn't coughing anymore. She was just, my friend at school, this and that, and whatever. So I was like, oh, she really could do this. So then I said, all right, well, I'll get some hunts booked.
So right now we're sitting here waiting for Bob and Jen to pull up from the airport. They should be here any minute. Immediately when we heard about, this journey that Jen's starting, we knew that this is a story that is so inspiring and can be for so many people. We're so excited to have the opportunity to document something that's bigger than ourselves.
Lincoln's like, you ready to see some doll sheep? And I was like, I don't believe it, but I'm ready.
I think we saw a personality in Jen that we've never seen before. You could tell that there was a lot going on in her head and that she was maybe psyching herself out a little bit. She was really timid and kind of reserved. Honestly, how could you not be when you have 50% lung function going into one of the hardest hunts in North America?
Jen, you have to tell me what's going through your mind.
Besides
it
the
can't
sound,
be not much.
besides the sound of the ocean.
Pretend I'm one of your texting buddies. Let it roll.
I don't even know. I still can't believe that I'm here. I still don't believe it. I don't really know what's going on in my mind right now.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
In my experience as a hunter, taking all 4 North American wild sheep was the most difficult thing that I had ever done. And myself and Carol and her medical team, we were quite concerned that there may be some situations that could be precarious, if not life-threatening for her. But she initiated this and she wanted to prove something.
I'm looking out outside the plane and seeing all these mountains, and also like the cliffs. And I'm like, what if I fall down that? What if I have to hike up that? Like everything was just like racing through my mind, and all of it was just, it was crazy. I never slept in a tent before, I never gone without electricity before, I'd never had freeze-dried food before. Everything was pretty much a first for me.
I know this little lady. How are you doing, Jennifer? Good to see ya.
You too.
Pretty exciting.
It's all kind of coming together.
What do you think, brother?
Listen to that. Nothing.
Oh, I thought that was Jennifer stopping.
There you go. Waiting for the rip. Heard about me in there somewhere.
Golly, I can already feel the skiers.
You can get situated and kind of get your gear ready. We'll shoot the guns, do the licensing stuff, and then we're going to try and deploy you right after lunch.
Okay.
Get you out there, so there's no huge hurry.
As the packing begins.
From this point, we're up on the mountain in tents for the next however many days it takes us to get it done. So we're leaving everything here but the bare essentials.
Packing for the trip was really, really stressful because I have a giant crate of meds. It's like, okay, what out of here do I need to put into here that I can only bring on the mountain? So I was really nervous about what if something goes wrong? And then go on a mountain where it's like, if it goes wrong there, it's significantly worse. My doctors, when I told them I wanted to go on a mountain in the middle of nowhere, they were like, well.
Any trip, including Canada, raises our blood pressure. It really means that you are out of range to us. So if anything happens, once you know a patient, it's easy to say, yes, I know patients on this and he or she's allergic to that. I know immediately what to do, versus someone who's picking up a 200-page chart and trying to figure out how to even approach care. Then we just deep breaths till they come back.
Okay, and this is your tag, and this goes around the eye socket, and then this goes with the meat.
The lake. And we'll fly down to, this here is the big river right through this big valley. And our camp is right here. So there's lots to see all the way around it.
We need all of your guys' gear down there.
Okay.
So he can
Pick what he wants.
Yep.
Okay, let's go get our backpacks, brother.
Sometimes I cough until I can't breathe anymore, and then I have to try and catch my breath. I was really worried I'd have trouble breathing. I was also really worried that I wasn't in good enough shape to like hike up the mountains. Come on, Bodos.
So that's basically the main thing. When we get out, it might be a little bit of a sloping ground, so keep your head low, hold on to your hat, sunglasses, anything that's light that can blow off. When you guys get out, the safest spot to be right here. This is better here than if you're out here, like right at the end of the rotor blades, they can come down.
Okay.
In the unlikely event of an emergency landing, if we roll, there's a fuel shut-off switch. If I'm not able to turn it off, you can turn it off right here. Okay. So we don't spill fuel.
Okay. We don't want to waste any gas.
Yeah. Yeah. They say the only time you have too much fuel is when you're on fire.
Hey, look, I can reach them.
Yeah, you don't touch this.
Yeah, those are the eject.
Don't touch them. Oh, eject. Woo. I could see everything below me and what I was having to hike the next couple of days. I knew kind of what I was getting into, but you don't know what you're getting into until you're there.
Our challenge in the Northwest Territories, it's not the sheer cliffs like you encounter with mountain goats, but the terrain is difficult to get across because every step is unstable and it takes a lot of exertion just to walk. The weather can be a real challenge. Sometimes it can snow in July. You can expect rain most days. But for her, the big challenge is her endurance and oxygen.
I'm James.
Hi, Jennifer. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Jennifer.
Landon, Bob, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, there's a few rams kicking around. Me and Alex were over here and they came around the valley and into that drainage there.
Oh, the one that we're just looking at the edge of right here?
There's both of them now. They're both nice rams.
Yeah.
He looks like an old ram.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
Yeah.
Is he tied to that rock or can he get away? Because Jennifer, she has tracers on her bullets. It just takes, what, 8?
Jennifer's gonna
Back in NWT, man. This is one of our favorite places on Earth. You can't find mountains just like this anywhere in the world that I've seen. I mean, it is one of a kind, and hunting a one of a kind animal as well. We are getting farther and farther back in here, and for somebody like Jen to be able to do this, as dependent as she is on these medications and treatments, it's such a remote area where she has no electricity or anything. It's a real testament to how tough she is. Every day we're hiking up that mountain, we have to realize that this is amazing for her to even be here. When using aerial transportation for hunting in the Northwest Territories, there's a mandatory 12-hour waiting period from the time that you land until the time that you can hunt again. That way it doesn't give the hunter an unfair advantage over the animal. We're fortunate enough to be able to make a really quick turnaround and get right out to Spike Camp from base camp that night. This is a huge advantage for the team because it means we'll be able to wake up first thing in the morning and hunt sheep the first day of sheep season right off the bat. Later that evening, the rain finally cleared off and we were able to go put our eyes on a beautiful legal ram that the guides had found. Because of the logistical issues of hunting in remote areas like this, additional non-hunters are always a challenge for outfitters to accommodate. It would be very difficult to relocate us to a new spike camp. So after the first evening and already seeing a legal ram, we're feeling really good about our odds from this spike camp.
I'm like turning.
Now the problem is she has real thick mucus in her lungs, so by doing this it just sort of gets it to break up a little bit off the sides of the airways and the air sacs, and then she can cough it up and move it out. The issue is with the real thick mucus, you get a lot of really nasty bacteria that get in there. The bacteria cause a lot of inflammation, which causes scarring and then loss of the function of the lungs because they scar down. Here, lift it. Good, cough it up.
I've always known my lungs. They're all I've had, and it's all I know. So I don't know what it's like to have 100% lung function. To me, it's normal breathing. But to everyone else, I'm sure if they had my lungs, they'd be like, man, this sucks. Like, I can't breathe at all.
She also has thick mucus in her intestinal tract, so it's hard and in her pancreas, so it's hard for the enzymes to get out to help her absorb food. So she has to take, did you take your enzymes today? So she has to take like 5 or 6 capsules with every meal to help her digest the medicine, and but she could eat all day and not gain weight. She'd still lose weight because her body doesn't absorb it all, and her metabolism, because there's all this inflammation and blood flow going on to fight off the infection and the mucus and all that crap, that she's burning so many more calories than we do climbing the mountains every day. So she would just keep getting skinnier and losing weight if she didn't take supplemental food, so through her G-tube.
Morning, sunshine.
You're missing out on some blueberry breakfast.
That's okay.
You need to eat, hon, because you can eat the bowls this morning, you can eat.
Oh, boy.
They're in the rocks right now. They're in the cliffs. Yeah, they're going that way.
Sitting here watching some rams. Looks like 3 rams, maybe 2 rams and a ewe. I'm not exactly sure, but 2 of them are mature rams. One of them is definitely older than the other one. The older one is a ram that's broomed on one side and tipped off on the other. Just a beauty of a doll sheep. He's got to be 10 years old plus, and that's exactly what we're looking for. These sheep are right above camp, so this is a really good situation for us. We just need to be patient. Be sure not to bump these sheep, because having sheep right above camp like this is a huge asset, and something really good to work on for the rest of the week if we need to.
Yeah, that's the best look there, and I agree.
Yeah, that grim one's the better ram.
Yeah.
Isn't he a lot thinner? Is he like a quite a bit older ram?
Yeah, you can see his sway back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's pretty exciting, pretty fun, nice to be on. Nice to have some rams in sight right here from camp. Pretty blessed.
Yeah, that's no cakewalk though.
They're up high, that's the thing, but we have time on our side. It's our first day, so, and we got 24-hour daylight, so if we have to go up there and spend all day patiently, slowly going up, we'll be fine. We'll just take our time.
Watch him, he'll turn around, he's going to jump down the valley.
Kind of crazy like that.
He's just leaping.
My body is working so hard just to keep my lungs in shape, and I have to work so much harder to breathe and everything. So I have to take in around 6,000 calories a day, which is about 3 times more than the average person. I mean, obviously it's annoying to do any of that stuff because it's just a pain. It takes so much time, but I mean, I've gotten used to it. It's what I do every day, so.
Fine, whenever you're ready. Direction, so if they don't come this way, at least we don't push them and we can try again.
Born in a riddle, we're so far away from here. Caught in the middle, we're so far away. Falling a little, we're so far away from here. Born in a riddle, we're so far away.
We just busted out of the buckbrush, and first day of the hunt, you gotta love working on sheep on opening day. Doesn't get better than that. We've already climbed quite a ways now. Jen's doing awesome. Everything's going smoothly so far. Now we need is this ram to move into a good position. It's not really like a set in stone stalk right now, it's more tentative. We know where the sheep are, but they aren't. They're kind of moving around a little bit. So we're going up to the right of them and getting a spot where we think they may move as it gets later in the day. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. It's a really good ram. We're just gonna keep going and get up close to these sheep, see if we can get a shot off.
I gave up sheep hunting about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was proud of getting a grand slam of sheep, but it's hard. It's very difficult on the knees, and I trashed my knee and I needed a knee replacement. And I thought, well, I can't do 4 more sheep hunts without getting that done. So I got my knee done in March, and I reminded her that, okay, I have my knee replaced, now you have to get your lungs ready and we'll do it together. So we kind of have a symbiotic relationship for pushing each other.
So when you're hiking with Jen, when I start to get winded or I start to get a little bit tired, I sit there and think about how is somebody with half of my lung function even doing this?
So the trees are between you guys, and just sit right there.
At this point, we can't get any closer without risking being seen by sheep. We think that the ram may have some ewes with him. In our experience, when there's more non-target animals, it makes the stalk exponentially harder. There's many folds and cuts that could allow this ram to slip out of sight of us, or even worse, go up over the top of the mountain and be out of play altogether. We have this ram looking back behind him at his buddies, and we really don't think he's going to move any closer in our direction. Jen will have to decide if she wants to try and pull off a 450-yard shot. It's not impossible, but it's definitely risky.
How much have you practiced that for?
Now it's getting late in the afternoon, rain clouds are rolling in, the wind is starting to pick up, and everything is making it a more high pressure and tense situation for Jen.
How does it feel?
reload. You're okay. Coming towards us. There you go.
Honey. There you go, baby. A nice shot. Oh, you got him.
Oh, he just fell down.
397. Good job keeping an eye on him, Jen.
Way to stay in the game there, Jen. That was awesome.
Good shoot. You got him. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Is his head down yet?
Not yet.
I don't know how you're not shaking, because I am. Jen, way to go, babe. Great work.
That is a stud of a round.
Dude, I feel you shaking.
Yeah, you're shaking, Bob. Jen just shot her doll sheep, man, at 400 yards. We're so proud of her. I mean, just chugging along on the hike all the way up here. Did awesome on that. Sets up, shoots once. We didn't know where the bullet hit, and then she just stays focused, doesn't get flustered whatsoever. We're just waiting him out right now. He had a buddy with him, and his buddy's looking like he might come over here to give us a closer look, but our top priority right now is just seeing what happened to Jen's ram. So excited. Yeah, how about that? Awesome job.
Congratulations.
First North American sheep right there.
Congratulations, Jen.
I'm trying to fall. Can't talk. Just got my first North American sheep. Just rolled right past us, jumped off a cliff. Now I gotta go hike down to him. Oh my God. I did this for everyone. Was CF who didn't think they could do things. You can do anything you put your mind to, no matter how hard you try. I can't believe I did this.
Don't fall off the mountain.
I almost did. Twice.
You are awesome. Proud of you. All that composure.
Can we roll down too, or is that not recommended? No. Yeah. Yeah.
So Jen, biggest congrats from me and the Young Wild team to you for your first wild sheep. What an inspiration you are to anybody struggling with any illness, especially CF. This is a huge deal for Jen. I just gotta say, any sheep with any weapon is a huge accomplishment, and for Jen to do it despite adversity, despite illness, this is the Everest of hunting for her. You know, I'm so blessed to have done the Grand Slam myself, but man, watching Jen do it and starting her own journey is something that I will never forget. Congrats, Jen.
Thank you.
Proud of you, kiddo. After the smoke cleared and we got back down to Spike Camp, I couldn't help but think how blessed we were for Jen to be able to get this amazing accomplishment done when she did. For the next 2 days, in fact, we were socked into spike camp with hard rains and high winds. After a successful Dall sheep hunt in July, Jen and Bob now focus their attention to a North Dakota Badlands Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep hunt. Anytime we think of wild sheep, we think of extreme terrain, and usually that means mountains towering up from the ground. But here in the Badlands of North Dakota, we'll be hunting cliffs towering into the ground in the form of Badlands canyons. Bob decided to go up to North Dakota a few days before we did and start scouting. Upon arriving in the area, Bob found out that there was a huge old ram hanging out there that had been there for years, and he eventually located the ram, but unfortunately it was on private property. Although the landowners were notorious for letting no one hunt on their property, they heard Jen's story and decided to let us in to hunt this huge ram. This was a huge break in the North Dakota hunt for us.
It's been said that I'm an outlaw with too much time to steal away. And despite all this, you still want this side of me.
Why are we about to run off the road? Is this for real? Oh my lord.
That's the ram they probably were looking at yesterday.
It's still limited access even though there are some roads around here. So there's still a lot of pockets that you can't see and that there could be sheep hiding in, and you can never find them unless you walked up into this country. And we're just gonna try to do this as much as we can today, hike up into some little bulls and make sure that there's not a big ram hiding out in here. One of our biggest challenges is gonna be the limited time that Bob and Jen have to get this done. This trip that we planned out here is about 4 days long. We're competing with resident hunters, battling bad weather, and hopefully we'll be able to find the ram that we want pretty early on. The problem isn't finding sheep. We're finding plenty of sheep. We've seen this group now twice. It's a beautiful group of sheep. There's probably 15, 20 animals in there. Mostly used, but 4 rams in there, but no rams that Jen's looking for. Jen and Bob are looking for something really old and really big. It's a good sign seeing sheep and seeing that they're rutting a little bit. That means anything could show up any day. So we're gonna keep looking and move to a different spot to hike up into. Alright, so we found what we think is the number 1 or number 2 ram. Bob's over there on him, so we're gonna head over to him. We gotta kind of hurry because we don't know how much longer we'll have eyes on him.
Cold?
Freezing. It's so cold.
Although Jen has trained lots at high elevations for mountain hunts, she hasn't trained as much in very cold weather. Anyone who's hiked in below freezing conditions knows the stinging in your lungs when you're breathing in that cold air. And I can only imagine what it's like for Jen with a lung condition to get up these mountains in this cold weather. Kind of a lot of confusion going on right now. We got up to the spot where Bob and Rusty are. Apparently they lost the ram. We're trying to find him right now, but we're here and apparently the ram's in the area, so pound it with the glass. See if we can turn him back up, hopefully. Hopefully it's gonna be a good day. Yesterday, late in the day, right before we called it quits, we found a ram that we're pretty sure is number 1 or number 2. Bob thinks he's number 1, and we're gonna go out and try to find him again today.
I think it's too much weight.
Somebody, oh!
It was a trap. Hey, hurry up, you got 5 minutes.
No, it's gonna cut him in half.
Whoa. Hey, just make a run at it, Dad, as fast as you can get down this hill.
It's winter again. Seems nothing has changed. Still stuck in these 4 walls. I can count the days.
Just got word over the radio that Jen and Bob found the ram. We're almost there.
So we saw some ewes and rams go around the corner down here, and Rusty went over the side, and our target ram's right below us, or right below, about a quarter mile that way.
Bad thing is the wind's blowing right to him.
Yeah?
Top over the hill.
How far down is he?
150 yards maybe. Wait for that ewe in front of him. Right there. Got him. Dunsky.
That's my little girl.
Oh!
That's my little girl. All right, get on him again.
Yep. Keep on him.
That's my little girl. Stay on him, honey. I can see he does. Somebody around here just shot himself a big one.
Good shot.
Come here. You were awesome. Awesome. Good job, babe. Way to go. That is freaking awesome. Way to go. Give me 5. Jennifer. All right, Jeff. All over there. I'm bring him back.
Yep, go get him.
Jen. Woo. Go get him. So Jen just shot her second North American ram, the Rocky Mountain Bighorn. We're here in North Dakota. She made a beautiful shot on it. We're about to hike around and go retrieve the ram.
What did you do? I'm so proud of you. Way to go, babe. That's awesome.
Holy cow. That sheep is absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh. This week, Jim will be hunting desert bighorn sheep in the Frost-Cristobal Mountains, a 17-mile-long mountain range on the historic Armendaris Ranch in New Mexico. This is a mountain range that I have a little bit of history with, as I was able to hunt desert sheep myself here a few years back. At first glance, the rolling flat tops and lots of road access make this mountain range look friendly, but I've learned that you can never judge a book by its cover. This range is full of benches and bluffs, which make the terrain very hard to navigate, and on top of that, there's high numbers of sheep, which make it hard to get in close for a stalk. After more than 23 days of hard hunting, I was never able to harvest a desert sheep here with archery equipment. But I think with a little bit of time and patience, Jen should be able to get it done here.
Yeah. Well, when I was in medical school, Jennifer would have a good chance of not being alive anymore, pushing 17. That was life expectancy. Now it's mid-30s.
So, Jen let me try out her vest tonight. This is what she uses. This is her vest that she uses for treatments to break up mucus in her lungs. Feels a little bit weird at first, but yeah. I'm about to do the babe.
Yeah.
And she has this vest next.
Yeah, we're turning off.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Come on, I want.
Get your damn face on.
Saddle up. Here's the reading. 24 degrees.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, the lower one. Yeah, right on the left one. Oh, I see those. I was looking to the right. There was a bunch of sheep to the right of that. Interesting. Let me just see. There's sheep on this mountain, Jim. Start dusting that trigger finger off. I think they're rutting in there pretty good.
Yeah, there's a couple there we gotta get a.
There's 2 rams in there that look pretty good to me.
Yeah.
We're gonna go get a closer look at the ram, and I'm taking the rifle just in case things get lethal. And we're gonna go see what happens. And hopefully things do get lethal.
Here we go. First little hike of the trip. We've been watching this group of sheep all morning. There's a couple rams in there, 3 rams that look pretty good and 1 that looks particularly interesting. So we're gonna head up towards the mountain, get a little bit closer to the base and get a better look at these rams. They're in a really good position if we want them. And we're just gonna make sure it's an option and see what we have up here. What would be our shooting position? This is a really good look at these rams. One of them has a collar, and he doesn't look like a very old ram, but we'll see.
I don't really know. Do you love him? Do you like him? Do you want to try to do better?
In a normal scenario, it would be easy to pass up a mediocre ram on day 1. Jen has a youth sheep tag that allows her to hunt for a full week, but a scheduling conflict back home means that she'll only have 3 full days of hunting. So this is a pretty tough decision to make.
Well, this is honestly the first time she's ever had a choice to make. Because usually we go, there he is, and she goes, boom, and she goes, yes.
Yeah, pretty much. there's a pretty good chance we'll find an older ram, same size or maybe a little bit bigger. So we're just gonna pass up on him and try and find an older, maybe a bigger ram.
It's day 3 today. Haven't been seeing as many sheep as we were hoping. On day 1, we passed up what was a pretty mature ram and hoped that we wouldn't regret it. But man, you'd really like to be seeing more mature rams at this point in the hunt. Just trying to cover as much ground as we can, because that's why we're going to get into sheep at this point.
Sheep are breaking all the rules on this one.
So we just pulled up here and there's some rams. Some of them look pretty good. Hopefully we find a shooter in here. We really want to get this done. Let's just see how this goes and see how these rams look.
He's got a little tighter curl than the one on the right. Identical. The top one's probably better. I think the top one's a little better. These are a little longer. Yeah. Push this hole in.
All right, so let's go up there and try to get this done. We're totally wide out in the open.
How far are you? I'm 516.
He's one of the ones on this edge now. But there's 5 running down, about to be 6. He's the one facing straight away with his head down. There he is. You mean coming down the hill? No, he's facing straight away, going uphill.
If they go any lower, they're in the brush.
He's the highest one, right? Check the one you want to shoot is the highest one on that group, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 sheep all around the top. He's the highest.
This one's facing up.
Yes, facing straight.
Shoot it. I have a shot, right?
No.
Which one are you talking about then? Okay, now I don't know which one you're talking about.
The one looking at us, right? One looking at us on the right, the lower one. On the right. Right?
There's 3 of them.
It's the lower one on the right, correct?
On the left.
Oh my Jesus.
You're on the left.
It's far left. Wait a minute, hold on.
Far left. Oh, I'm sorry. The tight, okay. Sorry, Jen, far left. They're button heads right now, right?
Okay. No, wait. Yes, it's the one on the left.
Alright, thank you.
Are you on that, Jen?
I'm on.
You on it?
Yeah.
Okay, right upstairs.
Can I put it right on the shoulder? Right on the front shoulder.
see the second from the right?
I don't know. They're all mixed up. I think it is, but don't.
That's him, second from the right. He's gonna go
Get
down.
a fall. Hold on. Keep it sick.
Are you on him?
You're on the right?
He's on the right, stand there. He's gonna go down.
No, I can't tell which one it is.
It's on the right. He's gonna go down.
Yeah, farther on the right, right?
Don't do it.
Don't shoot him.
I'm not.
It's him, turn down. Go ahead. He's facing to the right.
Wait, did he go down?
Somebody has 3/4 out.
Wait, he goes out?
Oh yeah. Way to go.
The dust goes right up. I can't see anything after that. Oh my gosh.
Good job. That's tough when you have to lay there for 15 minutes. Good job.
It's a beautiful sheep. We picked out the oldest ram that we could find in this group. We've been hunting hard for 3 days, combing over this mountain, and finally got to see some more success on the Armanduras. It's been a while, and it's great to see. Jen just got her 3rd North American ram. Woo! Good job.
Oh my god.
It's a beautiful ram.
That was so confusing.
Tell you what, there's a lot of hunters make a mistake in that deal. You got a bunch of eyes, you got a bunch of different rams moving around, changing positions, so I'm proud of Jennifer. She hung in there and got it done, and she was unflusterable. Awesome.
The first 3 rams are down, and now the focus shifts to the final ram, which is the stone sheep. Jen and her dad Bob have made the decision to go back with our friends at Raven's Throat Outfitting due to the possibility of seeing a Fannin ram there, and also the great access around the mountains with the use of helicopters. Traditionally, stone sheep are hunted in British Columbia, Canada. However, the Fannin sheep of the Northwest Territories can be counted as stone sheep due to the existence of gray hairs on the body and gray hairs on the tail. There we go, headed out of the airport at Norman Wells, about to go catch our float plane, and then we're back in the bush for the foreseeable future. Can't wait, it's good to be back here.
Jen, what's going on here?
Stop! I told you! It's not my fault, there's a curb there!
Oh, the curb, yes. It was the curb's fault.
It was!
7 more feet, guys. 7 more feet. You can do it.
You guys are no help at all. What do they teach in Oklahoma? Just stand there and laugh?
Wait, what?
You guys are done sorting through all your stuff. Can I get you guys to pile it all on the weigh scale?
We're breaking down all of our gear right now, getting everything out of hard cases, so any extra weight that we can cut down on, we're gonna leave that behind. So I think, Bob, you're staying here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Well, it's crazy that this is the last camp.
Oh, it's crazy.
Can't believe it's been a year, already almost done, but super excited to get to base camp and spy camp and hopefully get my last sheep.
We were gonna duck in first and second.
Just take them down around the
Hi, Tom.
That's fine, and we got some for you.
I know.
What's that?
Very good.
I did, yeah. Here we are at base camp. This is stage one of being back in the bush for us. We get here, we've already packed down our bags to some extent, but now we got to pack everything into backpacks and literally get ready to be out in spike camp and out in the bush for the foreseeable future until we get a ram down. So this is where it really starts to get real. We're about to be in sheep. It's awesome.
People get freaked out when I start talking and I have this thing on. They've never heard me talk with it before. Really funny. And this is my nebulizer. And this one, I have 4 of them. This is like my second one. This one makes me cough. It's great.
You guys don't know what CF is. She has a disease that makes her secretions real thick. So it's actually a salt. There's a salt pump that goes across the cell membrane that keeps the chloride balance, and that's where the sodium follows, and that's what keeps things like liquid as opposed to real thick. And in cystic fibrosis, that pump doesn't work. So you get an imbalance of the gradient of salt, so the water follows that. You tend to get less water in the secretions from the GI tract and the lungs and the sinuses and everything. So she gets real thick mucus, and if she doesn't do the vibrating vest thing that moves stuff out, then it can settle in her lungs and block off airways and then get infections and scarring and that kind of stuff. But this whole sheep deal has been great for her because it's made her push herself and get out and exercise and do things that she didn't want to do. I told Carol, I said, what are we going to do after she's done with this? Because like, I'll say, Jen, let's go hike the mountains. You got to get in shape for a sheep hunt, you know. Yeah. There's so many people that have been involved and, you know, kind of behind her and pushing her and believing in her that she owns it, so she gets out and does it. When she's done with this, I don't know what to do to get her to do stuff. Yeah. So can we have some challenging prairie dog hunts or something like that? There aren't like 25, 30 grand a pop.
Alright, so we're just now starting to get guys out in the field. Our cameraman and a couple of guides are in this helicopter ride, and they're going to get out there, start setting up camp, and then Bob and Jen will be behind them, and then me and my dad after that. Operation Fan is underway. Well, we finally made it to spy camp. It's early afternoon. We're about to have some lunch and sit down and glass for the evening. No place I'd rather be. It's a weirdly satisfying sight to see that helicopter fade out of view and know that you're out here all alone. This is awesome. Good to be back. Perfect country for sheep. A sheep can perch up on something like this, 20-25 feet cliff right below him, and then sheer rock face behind him. He knows a grizzly or a wolf is not going to be able to ambush him at this spot without him hearing it first. And so there's sheep poop, sheep beds. You can actually smell sheep in this spot. And then a cave behind us. That's so cool. It's cool to think that we're probably some of the first humans to ever set foot in this cave. There's sheep tracks and sheep hair back in here. That's pretty crazy. Some of the team just went up to Glass for a couple hours and located the sheep that we're after. We're hoping that they'll hold their position. But for now, we're gonna sit down, have some dinner, and hit the sack of the night.
You guys, anyone want a coffee or cocoa or something?
All is good. We're set up at our spike camp. We have ram located. We're going to go at 4 in the morning. Life is good. I'll call tomorrow. Love you. Bye.
We're about to head out pretty soon. Hopefully the rams are where we saw them yesterday, and hopefully we get a good shot at one.
Yes.
I'm gonna end up there.
Okay, let's go.
So we what?
Ready, Jen?
Yes.
On your mark.
Lead us on, James.
Grand slam.
Harry, my hands are freezing. You had an extra pair of gloves this whole time? I don't know what to
So one thing that we've learned about Jen is that she's so strong mentally that she's going to push herself right into the ground if she has to. just over this ridge is where they saw the sheep last night. They put them to bed, and we've got good wind now. The wind's right in our face. We're gonna peek over and see what we can find. We might be sitting up here waiting these lambs and ewes out for a while. So Jen's doing great. She's caught her breath, and she's gonna get warm until we can find these rams.
Okay, so we're going to cross and go on down.
Go back down. Scan out sight everything. Come up on the water.
We've been sitting tight here at this spot for probably 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and we haven't seen the rams. We saw the lambs and the ewes that kind of hang out in the same area that they do, but the rams have yet to show themselves. So at some point we're going to have to either make a move or figure something else out, because I don't think the rams are going to come out on this face like we were hoping they would. So either we're going to skirt around the edge of the hill and see if they're anywhere back there, or we're going to have to try to get eyes on them. We'll see.
Where do you think they went, Jen?
Chris went way up the mountain, up to the top of the ridge, to relocate the rams, and ended up finding them bedded on this shelf, just barely out of sight before we waited for like 3 hours.
cut down a number of people and drop some of our packs. And hopefully they're just over the edge here. And we might just be able to get a shot at one pretty soon here. See what happens. We were going one way, we gotta go another because where we were going was gonna be way too close to them, so we're just trying to figure out a way we're not too close so we don't spook them up.
Do you think that's him?
I'm not 100%, but I'm like 98%. Hard to tell.
There's more sheep here somewhere.
That's 67 yards to that flat rock. She can make that shot. It's 150 yards. Let's go on a single file line when we do it. Let's go. Turn it to 450, right in the middle between the two. One crosshair over from the midline, to the right, 1 minute angle. Remember to lean into that bipod. Whatever you want, babe, I think that's a pretty good one right there.
Right there. One to the left, right? He's right in front of a, or right behind a bush.
Now let him come out. When he comes out. Okay. When he stops. Whenever you're ready. Watch your bullet hit. You hit him. Get on again, Jen. You drilled him. You are the best. You are the best. Stay on him. Stay on him, Jen. Somebody just finished the slam. Thank you, Lord. Jen.
Oh my God.
Good shooting, sister. How you doing? Congrats, hon.
Oh, yeah.
Not an easy shot, was it? What are you thinking right now?
Oh my God. Oh, I just can't believe I'm done.
I think you're just getting started.
Yeah.
God.
You're a rock star.
Mountain sheep hunting is just something that you really cannot experience anywhere else. It changes you, and it really truly does. Your experiences are unique to who you are. In my case, it showed me what I can do and what I can push my limits to. We all have our safety bubble, but when you push out of it, you can make yourself do things you never thought you'd be able to do.
How about that, kid? Oh, come on.
Oh my God.
That's your slam right there. Look for that one. Right.
Holy mackerel. Congratulations, I'm so happy. Look at the shit. Oh, he's gorgeous.
I've learned so many things about Jennifer through this journey with her maturation as a person and how she has blossomed knowing what she's capable of doing. The outpouring of love and support has been humbling from so many people with this deal, and her handling of that has made me very proud of her. I'm really proud to watch her talk in a group in front of people about hunting, about her experience, and about what the whole thing means to her. And she is so confident, and she's grown so much through this journey, and her ability to speak her heart to people is a tremendous gift to have. She realizes she's in a position as a young female hunter where she can have a voice that can help explain hunting and the value of conservation and the importance of passing on this legacy to her peers. The physical part of it, the overcoming challenges, she's found a gear I didn't know she had. She just brings it.
It was amazing watching my physical shape skyrocket, basically, like higher than it's ever been. So I went from a 54% lung function, and then it shot up to 71. And my lung function hasn't been that high like ever. I did my PATs, my doctor was there, and I was like, I said I beat the game. I got 71, I was like, I beat the game. Like, I've never had it this high, and it was totally crazy. Statistics are just numbers. They're just numbers. People prove numbers wrong all the time. It's all about the right motivation and setting goals for yourself. I think it's best for people who have limitations, mentally, physically, anything else, to just push themselves farther than they normally would to see what happens. One day, every one of us will take our last breath, but until then, we're undefined.
I hope you all enjoyed following along on Jen's amazingly inspiring journey as much as we did. So I thank you as viewers for supporting Jen and supporting Young Wild throughout. To stay up to date with Jen and all of her future endeavors, make sure to go check out her Instagram at Jen_Griego and also check out her brand new podcast that she just came out with. I'm Lincoln Tapp. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next journey.